you have opened the door to so many people who had no, and I mean no idea that somebody that young could possibly have dementia, especially given all the other things. No, they had to have made a mistake. It's like, yeah, no, they didn't. They actually made a mistake missing the diagnosis in the first place for as long as they did.
Yes. And the average is like 3.6 years they go undiagnosed. Hers was not quite 2. And it wasn't because I was
only
special.
Because of you. It was only because of you.
Well, it was partly because I was a mom who was like, I want her to enjoy her child. We are on a time limit here, people, you know, and I was telling someone that I saw her, I told them early on, I see my daughter as an autistic dementia patient. And you know what? I was right.
You were absolutely right on you were right on target. Unfortunately, nobody actually listened to you and said, so you're a PTA and you do a lot of this and you're seeing the characteristics consistent with that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. That's concerning. And then, of course, with no family history, they absolutely wrote that one off. Yeah.
Yes. And especially she just had a baby, postpartum. She just had all these losses, depression. You know what I mean? Like it fit the bill.
Yeah, it really was sneaky, but I will say it really became really obvious. And I'm going to say, my heavens, you did an amazing job getting it done. Given that in 2 years, finding out what really was happening, most people would be only now finally giving up on all the possibilities of it was psychiatric, it was this, it was that. It was like, you raised that early and you brought that down quickly. And it's like, no, this isn't matching up.
This was just not. I mean, I've been around people who've had mental health issues. And they don't typically get upset about a dead squirrel on the side of the road or that, you know, that's
why
they're a little bit more, And I just was like, or she'd get excited. She'd see a squirrel in the yard. You thought it was the first time she ever saw one. Yeah. You know, it was very childlike. You know,
I mean, it does have that autistic characteristic, that sort of like, whoa, that's unusual.
Yeah, and I kept thinking, now, this just does not, this is not adding up. And I'm thinking,
this isn't how
and I couldn't reason with her. I couldn't reason with her. And Kara was always matter of fact, Kara's always a very black and white logical person. Believe me, she was, because we used to joke about it. Because Kara, you know, she was very, there's right and wrong.
That's it.
There's black and white.
Either or. That's it. Either or. It wasn't shades of gray. It was never shades of gray for her.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that also kind of made it tough because we thought, well, that's Kara. But then she started getting really off the wall about everything being, but she had never been OCD. Yeah. But she had been pretty blunt. Because she would be, but then she became very blunt. Yes, that kind of blunt. Like, boy, that guy's got a big nose. I don't know if I can
go back to church with this again. I mean, well, that was my grandma. You know, I did have a grandma that had that. She goes, I don't know who the hell you are, but you were not sent by God to preach. And it was like, Grandma, you're talking to the preacher. Well, I don't know who he is. It was like, yes. She was much more emotional though.
Yeah. One time we were at the store and we walked by someone and she said, boy, she has a big butt. And of course she says it loud enough. And you know, it's one thing if you're 2 years old and you say something, but when you're, and I was like, Kara, and she said, well, that's better than what the devil voice. Cause remember she had this devil voice. It was her own thoughts, but she didn't, but because they said things she would never say.
She viewed it as a second voice. That was her way of trying to figure out what the heck is going on up here.
Yeah. And she'd say, well, the devil voice said she had a huge, the other word. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, well, you're right. That was better.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just maybe not say any of it.
Yeah, well, no, you have to comment on it. If you saw it, you have to say something about it because it was
Exactly.
big.
Like the
I
guy
mean, you might
in
have not noticed how
Starbucks.
big it was. Yeah.
Yeah, she'd say, boy, he has a big nose. And I'm thinking, oh, Lord. And then I look over and I'm thinking to myself, well,
He
he might
does.
have a big nose, but
He
we
does.
don't need to talk
We
about
just don't
it.
usually say something about it. You're absolutely right, but we don't usually talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
that didn't taste good. It's like, it's what you usually get. Well, she didn't make it right. And it's like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And so, it's been just, we laugh about it now and well, what are you going to do?
I mean, you do learn to laugh, or you will just wear yourself out, and you wouldn't be caring for her anymore if you didn't learn how to laugh about this stuff, because you wouldn't you wouldn't survive. I mean, and you guys are doing a remarkable job of not only surviving, but thriving. So,
well, I appreciate that, because there are some days that I wonder.
I know there are moments when you just want to throw everything down and walk out for a little bit and say, I need a break and I'm taking it. And it's like, Yes.
Yeah. And, and it's okay. I think for caregivers, I think they need to realize it is okay to be emotional.
Yeah.
It is okay to say, oh, I just don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Because there's so much guilt when you're trying to deal with, because you feel as if, how can I say that?
Right. And it's like, without the resources you have, you would not, I mean, and you've stretched them as thin as they stretch, but without that husband, you would probably not be able to do this. Without your resources that you pulled together, you've made these choices without your background. I mean, there are people out there that are not going to be good matches for caring for somebody they absolutely love to the very end of life.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean hands-on care is your thing. I mean, it's not everybody's thing. And I just try to help people recognize you can love somebody and you can be absolutely an amazing person, but you can't be the carer. Because when it comes to the care, it just sort of who you are and who they are and how it is, it's just not a good match for you guys. It just wears all of you out.
I agree. And I think that's why I want to get more involved in helping caregivers to learn. And one thing that you said in one of your sessions that I loved, and I almost wore my t-shirt that said it, just breathe, like stop and breathe. And you don't know how much that helped me.
It's true. I mean, it's like, and it's like, try breathing. I mean, let's just breathe. And it's like, breathing. Yeah.
Yeah. I can do that.
Yeah, that I can do. I think I can pull that one off. Yeah.
Yes. And I remember I watched that and I thought, because you said sometimes you're just not even breathing. And I thought, you really aren't, not properly.
No.
And then your stress level is only increasing.
And then you're saying things you know better than to say, and you're doing things that you know better than to do. It's not going to result in a good outcome. You even know it when it's coming out of your mouth. And it's just like, my prefrontal cortex is just not doing its job. There is no reins on the horse here. Whoa, never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
And it's just been this journey. I have met people, other mothers who have had younger, well, they've been in their 30s, mid 30s. Actually, Kara was diagnosed in February of 2019, and I got on the AFTD support group.
Yeah.
And I met some people, especially one, Robin, was the first one that I really connected well with. Her son, Justin, had been diagnosed about a year before Kara. His story, oh my, that was a horrible story. But anyway, 3 of them have passed away in the last few months. And that has been probably one of the hardest, where reality hits, because some days you just get used to who she is.
This is where we are. Yeah. And
we're going to be this way.
Yeah. And our experience with children is, even if she doesn't get better, she'll stabilize. I mean, even developmental disabilities, it's stable. And it's like, it's hard to keep remembering it isn't stable.
It's not stable.
It's not stable.
That's when I think sometimes I even get into denial, because a lot of people have said you need to be writing a journal. It's hard to write down things you don't want to see in black and white.
I was going to say, why would you?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. It's like, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to journal what was hard, what was easy, what was great. I mean, I want to experience, I want to live it, and I want to memorize it. But I personally am not a journaler. You know, that's not my way of holding on to things.
Yeah, I've never been, I don't know, to me, it makes it almost more real. I'm living it anyway. And plus, by the time I get done everything I do during the day, I don't really have
yeah, exactly. I'm with you.
Is relive it.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah. I want to go to bed and give it to somebody else for the night, and I'll pick it back up in the morning when it's my turn again. This is my turn to sleep right now.
Yes, so, because she doesn't always sleep at night either. She gets the sundowners.
Yeah.
She may get up in the middle of the night, and you're thinking, where did she come up with this energy? We're touching lights. We're, you know, all over the place. And you're thinking, oh, maybe we need to call the doctor about adjusting our medication.
Of course you are.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, we're all looking for that magic. Is there that where's the magic pill? I want to take the magic pill so I can get a good night's sleep. And it's like, I'm not taking the pill. Somebody's going to be taking the pill, but I don't think it's me.
Exactly. And, you know, we've learned that my husband and I take turns. Okay. I'll get up with her tonight if it happens, you know, and then if you're the fortunate one that she slept all night, you're like, man, I wish I would have taken that night.
Oh man, I wish I'd taken last night. I've got tonight, huh? I'm going to hope for the best. And then full moon happens, as the saying goes. It's a full moon. It's like, no, not a full moon. No.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, it's, I've cried my tears. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you're so strong. You're so strong. Well, not as much as you think I am. It's one of those things where I've always been the type of person. I know I have a choice, you know, of whether I can handle it or not.
Are you going to pick up and live? Or are you going to start dying? I mean, are you going to give up and start dying? I mean, you either pick it up and live, and I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to find the strength to pick it up, and I'm going to live. But it doesn't mean it's not hard. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean I wouldn't like to lay this down. And sometimes I need to and let it be. It's just, but I choose to live, and I choose to find moments of joy in my living.
Yes. And I'll tell you, yesterday being Mother's Day was difficult. And so I wrote on my Facebook, it was hard for me because this time of year, well, in May, my niece who passed away, my sister and Kara, all their birthdays are this month. Matter of fact, my niece would have been 20 tomorrow, the one that passed away. Tomorrow's her birthday. And then missing my mom, and it's Mother's Day. And so I wrote on my Facebook page, I put joyful Mother's Day, because I can say that and mean it, because I can find joy, but I don't have to be happy about it.
No.
But I can still find joy, because that comes deeper than happiness, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right. That joy is something that is created deep within us that we choose to share and celebrate. And it comes from within. It's not something that you slap on, and it's not a card, and it's not a this, and it's not a that. It's coming from somewhere else.
Yes, because you can say happy. Happy is a little bit more circumstantial sometimes, like the circumstances.
Something happened to make me happy. Yeah.
Yes. But yesterday wasn't real happy. I was feeling a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
You know, of being a mother who is losing their child slowly. Yeah. She's already not the child, the person she was. And I grieved that. And I've spent many a nights crying over the fact that what she's going to have to face. Yeah. As I see these little small changes, I know that those changes aren't a good thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, they definitely aren't. And you know it, and your head knows it, but your heart wants to hope not, but you know it's coming. But you're celebrating the moments that are okay now, because worrying about the ones you can't do anything about, it's not going to change them when they happen. Right now, you can still fight back on the UTIs. You can still fight back, and you still have a way to deal with, and you will find a way to cope with the changes. I know you will, but because that's who you are. But it doesn't mean it won't hurt.
Exactly. And that's where I think a support team, like when you have your family, I do feel the need to, for caregivers to seek that out.
Absolutely.
I've gained a lot from my support group online because they understand where, the one thing it's hard to hear is when someone comes to see Kara, and I know they mean well, but they'll say, "Oh, she looks good, and she's, I love her smile.
Wow.
She looks so good." And then you think, do they think I'm making this up? Like that she's sick?
It's like, okay, yep, I do a good job of making sure that happens. Who helps all that happen? That would be me, so that you can come and spend time and not be offended that this or that. And you put all this energy because you want people to be okay with how she is, because it is important for her to have friends, and you want that for your child. Any mother would want that for a child, but it's a lot of work to help your child be ready for friends.
Yes. And it's a lot of work just to, like I say, do
they turn to you and hug you and say, "Wow, you are doing a fantastic job. I just want to give you a big hug.
Oh, well, thank you.
An amazing mom." I mean, you really are an amazing carer and an amazing mom.
Well, I appreciate that because, that means the most to me, because being a mother is my most rewarding job.
A daughter, being a wife, that's who you are to your very core.
Yeah. And I do, and I love getting to meet you, and I want to learn more from you, especially with FTD. Do you see FTD much like the difference between that and the Alzheimer's? I know that
significant. It's so hard when people don't understand the difference, because they get so surprised, so blown away, so unaware. And it is not that uncommon. We have more and more young people, and people who are in their 40s and in their 50s and in their early 60s who actually have FTD. They do not have Alzheimer's, and they so get missed, and they get misidentified and mismanaged, and their care is poorly handled, and they get medicated to the gills, and they get the wrong medications, and their care is miserable because people don't understand FTD. Yes. And that's not okay. That's really not okay. So, that's why I'm glad we are going to do this in two parts. The first part will really be Kara's story and your story, but the second part is really talking more about this FTD thing.
Yes, I would love to. Yes, I would love to learn more of how I can better I'm always wanting to do better in how I care for her. Of course, I know Robin, who I know that you know.
You sure enough do. I love her. She's amazing.
And when she came, just that little time she come to meet Kara, some little things that she said to my husband and I, just little tips.
Yep.
And even my husband, it was so cute that one day he was like, "Well, she said to do it this way," and it was so cute because, if she doesn't want to go a certain way, you're not going to budge her. She's she's not a small. She's
strong, and she's big, and she's going to do what she wants to do when she wants to do it. If you want to do battle, it's like, I don't recommend that.
No. And it's just a tough situation. And so I appreciate, and I know that the FTD community appreciates the fact that you and other professionals are understanding that more awareness and more help because I see so many struggling on the support group, and I feel bad for the spouses who don't have help,
who have no background in this, don't have a background in healthcare, and they don't have a lot of support out there. And even their medical support is sort of like, yikes. Ooh,
it is.
Said what? Ooh, ouch.
Yes.
Well,
I
didn't do that.
So many tell them, go home and get your
affairs in order.
In order. That's what they're told.
Yeah.
And, and then what are you supposed to do in the meantime?
I was going to say, I've got years left. Aren't you thinking I should do something else before? I guess that we need to do a little of that. That's fine. But, really, I should be living, right? Well, we don't know what to tell you. And it's like, well, there's going to be life. It's how we live it that really will determine how it is for us. And you're not giving us a whole lot of support and hope, frankly.
Yes.
And you're like well, come back when you have a behavioral issue you need help with. And it's like, well, like what kind of behavior? Oh, well, it'll get bad. And it's like, good to know.
Yeah. And there's no help of how do you deal with that?
Right. So when that thing happens, what could we try? Well, I've got some medicines we can try, but it'll probably make her pretty somnolent, but that's better than where you're, and it's like, okay.
Yes.
I mean, it's an unfortunate, not a lot of, I think AFTD. Yes.
Yes.
I always have to get all my did I say the letters the right order? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, is doing a great job of opening windows and doors and making things more visible. I think, however, the general dementia community still is way behind when it comes to really acknowledging and recognizing the frequency with which this condition brings its head up. And how many people have Alzheimer's plus FTD?
Exactly.
People are like, it's one or the other. It's like, no, it can be both, guys. It can actually be both.
It can actually be both. Yes. Yeah. I've seen that on the support group. And I guess I just see so many of them that are struggling and we help each other. Well, some of their symptoms, maybe someone will come on and say, yes, I understand. This is, and this does happen. And this is the best. Maybe this is what I did. Yeah. Which sometimes that's the best
possibilities of what I tried. Yeah.
Right.
And
they're also different. Now, like with Justin,
person is so unique. Yeah.
Oh yes. I see similarities between certain ones. Especially the younger they have a tendency to progress faster. Yeah. So you do see some of those. But with like I'm on a virtual support group for a research study Kara's in. It's for people because she's in 2 research studies through a Mayo Clinic.
Oh, super.
And that, my opinion is the more that people can learn, there's going to be purpose to her pain. We're going to make something come from this. God obviously felt like we could handle this. Yep. Sometimes I wonder why.
I know, really? So I think, wait, I was in the wrong line. I've changed my mind. Wait, no.
Yes.
Surely that belongs there, right?
Exactly. Because you're like, well, wait a minute. When people will say, oh, you're such a strong person. And I think, well, I've kind of had to be.
I have to. I mean, I wouldn't choose to be strong. Trust me. I want to be weak sometimes, but it just doesn't work for me.
No. And like I say, I'm so blessed to have my husband and that we can be a team. But I know that it is stressful even on marriages and on families.
It's horrendous. I mean, it destroys families all too often who were fragile to start with. And this took the fracture lines and broke them right to pieces. Yeah, it is a miserable kind of condition that makes those things really hard to do. I mean,
it does. And I think that just learning that it's okay to sometimes feel that way.
Yeah, I need a break. I'm done.
I need a break.
I can't do this right now. I just really can't. And to know that doing that if the person is left for a few minutes, it's better than what you would do otherwise. I mean, acknowledging, sometimes walking away is the best strategy I have, truly that's the best I can do right now. I'll come back. I promise I will, but it can't be right now. I just can't do it right now. I need to go breathe.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to put breathing in there somewhere.
I got to put it in here today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do believe Kara, I can tell that she's content with us. She has her sensory issue. You can tell when things get a little bit different for her. Yeah. And I'm learning from some of the sessions I've watched from you and just learning that it's okay, or I don't need to try to calm her down. She's not doing anything to hurt anyone.
It's annoying. It's definitely sort of, and I need to keep an eye on it, but I may not need to intervene right now. I may need to let it just sort of simmer there a little bit and then see what I can do.
Right. Because, she's throwing the animal up and down in the middle of the night and banging on the ceiling, Tim's like, well, nobody could sleep at that point.
Nope. It's effective. Like, it's very effective. Everybody's up.
Exactly. And he'll say, why does she do that? And I said, well, the interesting thing is she doesn't know why she does that.
No.
Really.
No. But maybe being in the dark by herself, I mean, she wants company. Yeah. And she'll get it.
Yes, she will. Yes, she will. She pretty well runs the house. but that's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay. Because I dread the day she, the doctor said she would slow down on her own, and some things have started to slow down. And then that's bittersweet, because once they get to that point where they're not doing these type of things, then that's not good either.
No,
and so,
I mean, and that, and yet you'll accept that when it's time. That's what it's time to do, that kind of care. And this is where this kind of care comes in. And you're in for the long haul, as we say. You're in for the long haul. Yeah. Yes.
And I sure appreciate your visiting with me and
we are so thankful that you were willing to come and be part of this conversation, and we will be sharing it back with you before we share it out. It'll probably be in some segments, and we'll do some more conversation, I suspect, as we move forward. But
that would be great, because I would love for it to be helpful for me, but also helpful to others, so that they don't feel alone. Or even to get the awareness out that if your loved one is not the person you knew, advocate for them. If the traditional mental health treatments aren't working, say, hey, wait a minute,
Because it did make a difference to recognize it for what it was, because then you could let go of trying to fix what you couldn't fix and start working on what you could. Remodel the house, figuring how to get the family put together, figuring out how you were going to do this, because it meant letting go of some things we aren't going to be able to hold on to, and we can't fix it. We can't make that right. And it's not like her relationship with her son is not going to be the relationship she dreamed of, you wished for, and we all hoped for. It's going to be what it is, which is he will have moments that he will have in pictures, and he will have in stories that will be how he came to be, and how much he was loved, and how much he was wanted.
Exactly. And that's we take little videos, like yesterday when he gave her, her Mother's Day. And we planned for him to know, and he calls her mommy. He just has never known her any other way, which in a way is a blessing.
It is.
Instead of being 5 or 6 and then
losing her
would have been devastating for him.
Yeah, that would be really different. It is really different for young kids or even teenagers who are going through FTD. Behavioral variant particularly, but any kind of FTD, it is really hard for kids who are experiencing it. So in some ways that was a blessing. I mean, it truly is hard, but it was a blessing in many ways, because you don't have that on your mind too at the same time.
Yes, exactly. We're having to deal with his grief, or his losing the most important person of his life. Yeah. And at this point, he has a huge support system. He has love everywhere. Yeah. And that's all that really matters.
That's all he knows is love everywhere. And even from his mom, who doesn't always look like the other people exactly. Right. But, she is part of my life, and she gave me life. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And I plan to make a book for him from starting out, from when she did her in vitro and announcing it, and just the excitement that she had to have him, so that he knows.
So he knows her from then, because that's huge. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That is
because, he's almost 4, but eventually he's going to understand.
Yeah.
And he's just going to have a lot of questions.
He will. He will definitely have questions, because he's going to have them now, but they're different questions than he'll have when he's older, and he'll want to know more about this thing that she went through, and what happened, and how you guys did what you did, and how his dad did what he could, in a very different way. But, it is what everybody could do. I mean, that's what
Yes.
people could do. Everybody did what they could, and it turned
Yes.
out to be what it was needed to be. So,
Yes.
well,
And
thank you, Vaughn.
thank you.
This is a blessing and a gift in and of itself. So thank you for doing what you do, and thanks for taking the time to be with me.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to help us spread Teepa's positive approach message around the world. And don't forget to click the bell to get notified when new videos are posted.